It's early. I started this week off with the GH5s announcement, and I was super stoked, but there wasn't really anything in that video, right? It was just me at a desk. And in between then and now, I filmed another video, but it was really dry and boring and mostly just talked about green screening and studio stuff, and also it looked terrible. So today, we're gonna take what I like to do and fuse it with something a little more technical. I don't know what's gonna happen, but neither do you, so that makes it exciting. Well, here it is, a video all in 1080p 24 capped out at 60 frames per second. If you watched my last video, that was my challenge to myself. So this is the backwards camera comparison video. What can I live without in the next camera I buy? If I strip all the cool stuff away, what do I miss the most? Well, other than a clean sensor. Okay. I'm torn between the GH5s, the GH5, or the Canon 6D Mark II. After going to the gym and shooting, I just want to watch more camera reviews on YouTube, but first, I have to go to work. This GH4 is a pretty dope little dude, but it's actually my employer's. My wife and I share an 8-year-old Canon 60D otherwise, but my filmmaking aspirations require that I actually own a decent camera of my own, so it's time to acquire one. I saw this as an opportunity to make a more technical sit-down sort of video, but after hours of work and getting even as far as uploading and scheduling it, I woke up this morning and just knew I had to scrap it. It's just not me. I'm not the guy to make those videos. I learned a lot about what I want through the experience, though. I allowed myself to dream of an autofocus system that works and realized just how much I actually use 4K resolution in my workflow every day, so that I can crop in and reposition talent in interviews and talking heads. I also found out that slow motion is a big deal for me. Here's a video I shot a month ago at 96 frames per second. It was extremely cold, but even handheld, the footage looks crisp and professional. Compare this to the playground footage from the intro, and it's night and day. Without my glide cam, 60 frames per second isn't reliable for slow motion shooting. I had a hard time focusing at work, not because of gear anxiety, but because I was internalizing the failure of not posting that video so much. I felt like I was letting everyone down by not delivering the content and also feeling like I'd wasted so much of my week. So on Monday, when I released that video, I was super excited about the GH5s. And I was excited about all of the things that it offered me on bigger commercial shoots. But the more I started to think about it, the more I realized that I can always just rent gear for bigger shoots. That's not a big deal. What I want for my own use is technology that gets out of the way, because if working for almost a dozen hours on a video that I did not release taught me anything, is that I'm not really that technical of a filmmaker. What my clients hire me for is telling a good story. And yeah, the visuals need to be great, and the audio needs to be crisp, and that's all stuff that I'm still working on every day, because I'm still new at this. So when it comes down to it, the camera that I'm looking for right now is a camera that will get out of my way. I'm thinking of cameras differently now than I did on Monday. Now, I really don't think they're any more than a pencil and paper. Yeah, like having an awesome notebook to write in is really inspiring, and it makes it easier to get started, but in the end, the quality of the story is up to you. If the story is good and you're actually contributing something, everything else will just disappear. And that's all there is to it, really. I'm buying a new camera because I desperately need a new camera. It's a tool, it's not a toy, and the longer I obsess over the specs of this camera or that camera or whatever, the less likely I am to go out and tell a story. The more likely I am to just sit in my office and make videos I have no business making about things that I actually really don't care about. I'm just caught up in the moment and in gear lust and in anxiety over what I should buy, and it's a lot of money. You know, am I going to waste it? How am I going to feel if I waste it? But that stuff doesn't matter. What matters is the story. Whatever you choose, just don't let it take up too much of your time. Find something that you love to use and use it to contribute to the conversation and make something awesome. Don't mistake this for a cop-out though. This isn't a bait and switch. The GH5s isn't for me. I run and gun way too much. It's not for my needs right now, not for my main camera. Now, between the GH5 and the 6D Mark II, I think they're two different cameras for two different situations. Earlier today at the playground, that was 1080p 60 handheld, and 60 frames per second is just not slow enough, and without stabilization, it still looks choppy. It's still too shaky. But I think that the 6D Mark II would speed up my workflow a lot, and it would look beautiful, and I wouldn't have to worry about focus. I think that it would be a joy to use for all of my vlogging and YouTube stuff, and for a great deal of my event work. The GH5, for the same price, gives me a lot of amazing options for higher end shoots, and especially for slow motion. It's 180 frames per second slow motion, something like that is just awesome. And couple that with the inbuilt stabilization and lens stabilization, and you've basically got a junior cinema camera in the palm of your hand. I'm torn right now. Really, I think the question is, which one do I buy first? I hope that was helpful. I hope that gave you a different perspective on the which camera do I buy sort of question. I'm sorry that my technical video just didn't work out. I'm just not the guy to make that. What I think was the most helpful GH5s summation, I think Kai Wong did the best job of summing up why it's not the best camera for YouTubers. I think that the TCS TV guys did the best job in their live broadcast in talking about why it's the best one for filmmakers of these three. If you're in between like me and you do a lot of event work, I don't think you could really go wrong with the GH5 or the 6D, just depending on how much trouble you want to put into it. It's more work to get focus on the GH5, but it's more work to stabilize a 6D and still get really high quality footage. So honestly, I'm not sure I could go wrong with either of these. Is it a cop-out to say I just haven't quite decided yet?